Assalamualaikum and good morning, Tan Sri, Professor Augustine Ong, Dato Ambiga, esteemed speakers, and fellow audience. Thank you, Minds, for inviting me, an architect, to speak at this lecture together with the amazing women scientists here. In keeping with the spirit of the conference on contribution to national development by Malaysian women scientists, I'm happy that architecture is seen as a science in a tight marriage with art and creativity. I would like to quickly take you through architecture through the ages, emphasizing the need for architecture in those times and the technology that produced it, ending with our present situation in the midst of a pandemic and how architecture may contribute to a better built environment. Back in 3050 BC in Egypt, the pyramids were built as a tomb for the pharaohs for them to ascend the final journey to the heavens. Simple machines were invented to aid the construction process, example, rams and levers to transport blocks of stones and mount them. As man evolved, there became a need to fortify themselves from the enemies. The Acropolis in 447 BC, besides being a military base, was the mythical home of the gods and a symbol of democracy. New technology like the hydraulic system was invented to lift huge stones for construction. As with the advent of modern religion, there was a need for spiritual fulfillment. The Hagia Sophia was built first as a church, then converted to a mosque, a museum, and back to a mosque. The technology of huge, elegant domes, articulated play of light and shadow, and the construction of the intricate mural arches and pillars contribute to the architectural form. The beautiful Alhambra Palace in Granada in Spain was a palace, a fortress, and a citadel built in 1238. The need to impress power meant more elaborate decoration and expression of the aesthetics. The golden ratio, a mathematical masterpiece, was used in the development of its spatial and pattern design. A complex water conveyance system using channels, hydraulics, and a dam to supply the whole citadel with water to store and irrigate all its gardens and fountains. Fast forward to the emergence of the Industrial Revolution 1760 to 1840. Starting in 1784 with Industry 1.0, with mechanization and the innovation of the steam engine, moving to Industry 2.0 in 1870 with mass production, assembly lines, and the introduction of electrical energy. Industry 3.0 in 1969 with leaps into automation, computers, and electronics. Now, with Industry 4.0, we move into the digital age with cyber physical systems, Internet of Things, and networks. The progresses during the Industrial Revolution led to the construction of the first wrought iron structure in Paris, the Eiffel Tower in 1887 to 1889 to mark the centennial of the French Revolution. 7,000 metric tons of wrought iron was used to build the tallest tower of its time. With the Industrial Revolution came urban migration as more workers moved to the town and cities to be nearer to their place of work. There was a need to house these people in the early terrace houses for artisan and railway workers. These homes were built in 1896, the same year as the Bangunan Sultan Abdul Samad was built in Kuala Lumpur. Technology in brickmaking was more advanced to cope with growing demand. Polishing of glass for windows became essential, as well as the use of electricity in homes in 1878. There was a need to squeeze more people into every square feet of land in the city so that the invention of lifts or escalators houses more than 2 stories were able to be built. Post World War II, there was political unrest as there was a need to house city dwellers who had lost their homes to bombs. The Unité d'Habitation is a fine example by the iconic French architect Le Corbusier to house the masses in Marseille. This was the start of the modular system of mass housing inspired by brutalism. Here in Kuala Lumpur, the Pekelilling flats were built in 1964 to 1967 to house low-income families so that they may be close to their places of work. Sadly, it was demolished in somewhere in between 2014 and 2015. So what are the challenges of our times now? It's the climate crisis. Carbon pollution from fossil fuels is causing temperature to rise. Raising temperatures cause glaciers to melt. I'm sure many of you had seen the videos of the glaciers break in India, Uttarakhand on 7 February 2021. When glaciers melt, water levels rise. Rise in air temperature will cause temperature over land and oceans to rise. Humidity rises. When ocean temperatures rise, ocean life will be compromised. Similarly, when ice caps melt, polar bears and other Arctic animals lose their home and food source. The food chain will be affected. So, what is the impact of global warming? Severe weather, rising sea levels, declining water quality, reduced agricultural yields because of drought, forest fires, air pollution leading to allergies and asthma, spread of vector-borne disease like the pandemic now, and destruction of corals. So, what do we do about this? What are our sustainable development goals? We're looking at green building design, which will contribute to climate resilient infrastructure, which will run on renewable energy, reduce emissions, use circular principles when services aren't wasted, save water resources, and protect forests, as well as incorporating insulation within the buildings. These steps will definitely reap benefits for mankind. What we need to do on the macro scale is make public transport the first choice, cut our country's emission by 45% by 2030, preserve forest reserves, preserve water bodies, and ban land reclamation. On the micro scale, this is what we can do. Passive cooling by stack effect, louvers, high ceiling, deep overhang. Rainwater harvesting, photovoltaic cells, grey water to be used for irrigation, sensors for lighting, taps, escalators, use LED and compact fluorescent bulbs, plant shady landscape, insulate homes, and use low E windows. I was going to end my lecture in March 2020 with sustainable design, but now that we are going through this pandemic, I've had to add on another challenge for us, designing for the pandemic, which could recur purely because of rising temperatures. This is what we know, and this is what we know we should do. From the data in COVID-19 cases that we have heard, we know that the design of these spaces will need a revamp if we are to reduce the impact of future viruses. How do we approach architecture design for a pandemic world? Homes need to be adapted for work from home, sliding doors, hideable office space, improved internet connectivity. Workers' quarters need to adhere to new guidelines, increased floor area per worker, improved living, dining, and sanitation facilities, adoption of touchless technology, automatic doors, sensor taps, voice activated elevators, cell phone controlled hotel room entry, hands free light switches, and temperature controls. automated luggage bag tags, advanced airport check-in and security. So, what is our approach to industrial design in a post-pandemic world? We can adopt a biophilic design, an approach to reconnect humans and nature in our built environment. The core elements are scattered, clustered, varied vegetation overlooking landscapes, blurring the boundaries between the indoors and the outdoors, dynamic and diffused light, natural sense, proximity to water, use of natural and local materials, shelter and privacy. To adopt well building standards to monitor the impact of the built environment on human health. Seven concepts of healthy buildings are air, water, nourishment, light, fitness, comfort, and a good, clean mind. Now, how have we as a practice promoted sustainability? We, we won third prize in the PAM and NASA TTDI competition for an 850-acre township in 2013. Among the features we incorporated into our design was a central water body or retention pond that functioned as a flood control solution, a water source, and a cooling element in the whole development. Roads were placed in the perimeter to separate vehicular and pedestrian traffic. We want children to study and play in a safe environment so that parents and children will be less stressed in their daily lives. Cycling and walking is encouraged as homes, schools, places of worship, and recreational facilities are linked through safe walkways. Recycling will be supported as cooking oil will be converted to biodiesel to run buses. We also considered electric buses running on solar energy. Leftover food and gardening materials will be converted to be used as fertilizers for the community gardens. We have experimented with sustainable buildings. The Kwan Retreat, made famous by the drama Noor, is totally built using recycled timber. The building design encourages cooling by natural means using water bodies, stack roof, deep overhangs, and breathing walls. Sources of water via tube well and rainwater harvesting is even used to flush the toilet. A whole forest was replanted to reduce the carbon footprint. We have attempted to take this sustainability language through to mass housing in Dina Alam for Simon Darby properties. We included green roofs on the first and second floor, central courtyard, ventilation openings above doors, and full height windows for maximum ventilation. We also raised the house 2 feet above the car porch level and added a buffer between the car park and the living room to reduce the impact of the heat from the car engine from entering the house. I will leave you with this final slide, which addresses the need to control climate change and ride the pandemic. We have seen how beautiful the natural environment became when we had the first MCO. We could smell fresh air, water bodies became clear, animals came back. Let us see if we can make a brighter future for all of us. It is all in our hands. Thank you.